Hi, folks! Welcome to Follow the Leader, a podcast focused on telling character-driven stories through the use of GM-less tabletop games where we can all take the lead. You can find us on Blue Sky at FTLcast and at FTLcast.com. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/FTLcast. Today we're playing Time Passes by Avalyn Ramsey. For those of you who are new to the game, here are the basics. Time Passes is a game of fantasy heroes dealing with a nightmare so overwhelming that it will take generations to defeat. The story focuses on the perspective of a single immortal who watches as their friends grow up and age out of their heroic journeys, the losses mounting over time even as their cause advances. This is a game of grief at the absence of comrades and the need to move forward in spite of it. I'm August, and you can find me on Tumblr at Strange Harpy or Blue Sky at Harpydora, and my pronouns are they, them. Playing with me today we have the creator of the game, Avalyn herself.
Hello, I'm Avalyn Ramsey. You can find me on Blue Sky at Avalyn Ramsey Games.
And we also have Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam. I use he, they pronouns. And you can find me on Tumblr at SassyTale and also Blue Sky sometimes, but not frequently.
That's a mood. Our lines for this game, which are things we absolutely do not want to see, are violence against children, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, unwanted pregnancy, and plagues and pandemics. Our veils, which are things we're fine with addressing but will just fade to black on, are steamy situations, graphic descriptions of bodily harm, and terminal illness. Content warnings for this game include imperialism and colonialism, which may include some of our normal lines like homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism. So we just want to let you know that may be on the table, and keep yourselves safe, folks. Now that we've got all that, let's get started. All right, so we've done some character creation off mic for this game. With this game, you create characters with specific lifespans in mind. Do we want to go ahead and run through what the lifespans are and who our characters are before we get to creating our adventure?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right, since you are our special guest, would you like to go first, or would you prefer to take the anchor position?
No, I can absolutely go first. So I will be playing Marshall Crusher Crickrock, who is a Riftkin, which means that she is a big crab person. And she is the immortal longevity, which means that she has an infinite/0 lifespan. So she cannot age out of being a hero, unlike all of the other longevities.
Heck yeah. And I will be playing everybody's favorite dung-colored catboy, Precious Starling. He is immortal, which means that he has 4 ticks on his lifespan clock, and naturally, as such, can age out of the struggle.
And I am playing a new character. Her name is Bostelin Golden Fury, and she is ancient, which means I think that she's supposed to have 6 ticks on the lifespan.
You have 6 boxes you can fill over time. Each occurrence of time passing means that you will add 1 tick to your lifespan, and once all of those are filled, your character will have to retire from adventuring.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, I have 6 times that can happen.
Heck yeah. Do we want to briefly touch on our history, tragedy, and opening and our bonds before we start talking about our adventure?
Sure, that sounds good. I can go first again. So Crickrock's history was that she was a railroad marshal for a Pullerpeed company. So her job was basically to enforce order and law on the rail lines. And in the setting we're playing in, which is the canon setting for the game, rail lines are giant centipedes that have been domesticated for the purposes of pulling other husks of giant centipedes that have been hollowed out to turn into cargo or passenger spaces. So that was her job for quite a while, and in that time, she met Bostelin, who made her a fine firearm, which I think is just an extremely well-made flintlock pistol.
Hell yeah.
And so because of that, I've given the belief to Bostelin of Bostelin's crafting is unparalleled, but she may lose herself to it. And so Bostelin will be able to embrace or challenge that belief and get XP for it later on.
Yeah.
My tragedy is that I discovered that the rail line I was working for was covertly moving Imperial soldiers around for pay, which is connected to the Collaborators pillar, which we'll talk more about later. And then my opening is that Precious helped me get proof that the company I worked for was helping the Empire, so now we're working together. And from that connection, I gave Precious the belief that Precious is going to get himself into trouble even he can't slip out of.
I can neither confirm nor deny that. So Precious's history, I have written wealth redistribution agent smiley face. Think kind of a Robin Hood situation, as he is, as usual, kind of a thief, kind of sticky fingers. And one of the people he redistributed some wealth to was Bostelin, and that's how they know each other. His tragedy is quote unquote one last job that went horribly wrong for Precious's mentor. They were stealing from the wrong authority figures, which is another one of the pillars associated with our quest. I kind of have a reciprocating opening with Crickrock's, basically in being contracted to steal the proof of corruption. It was more than Precious could ignore. And so for my beliefs, I have a belief about Crusher. Crusher's sense of justice might get us in trouble. And my belief about Bostelin is Bostelin has sworn off gunsmithing, but we could really use her help.
And my histories have been... My history was assembling gunsmith for a master gunsmith's clientele, one of those clientele being Crusher. And because of that, the bond that I have with Crusher is a sure shot, but I don't know that more violence is the answer. And my tragedy was that I discovered all on my own that the master gunsmith was selling guns to the Empire, as basically attaching it to Collaborators, one of the pillars. And my opening, which is also connected to Crusher, is that I took Crusher's train out of town when the collaboration was discovered, while Crusher was still working for the railroad. And that gave me the bond. Crusher thinks change can happen from within, but I'm not so sure.
All right. Heck yeah. So it sounds like
Hell
we've
yeah.
got a nice ragtag group to tackle our quest, and I think maybe it might be a good time to reveal what our quest is and our pillars. So the quest that we're undertaking, which kind of informs the adventures that our party will go on, is the Unbound Empire. So the basic description of the Unbound Empire is an expansionist empire conquers the land, and the pillars that we've chosen to kind of be in charge of are authority figures, which Avalyn, if you wouldn't mind providing a description, because there's not one in the doc.
Yeah, the game is still in development. So the authority figures pillar is about people in power using that against individuals and against the masses for the benefit of the empire. That could be very open things and very obvious things like a crooked court finding someone guilty. But it could be a much smaller thing, like getting refused service by a bureaucrat who has the information that you want access to. And of course, there's the classic evil king type figure that would fall under this as well.
We also have the Nemesis, which it may represent a singularly powerful warrior, but could also be an elite order of the empire that exists across generations. And if the latter, there should still be one or two named nemeses who represent the organization. I think based on just what we're doing today, I do think that it should probably be a singular individual.
And that's your pillar, August, so you get to decide who that is and what their deal is.
Hell yeah. And our final pillar is collaborators,
which represents individuals who are working against the masses. This is different from authority figures in that collaborators often don't have direct power over the people around them. They may have that, but not necessarily. So this could be, a bystander reporting the heroes to the Imperial enforcers. Or if you have a contact, maybe they get spooked and leave before you can get their information because they're worried about being found out by people nearby.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
So I think, unless there's something else that you think we ought to go to or go over before we start plotting our adventure, I think that's pretty much what our dear listeners ought to know.
Yeah, I think that about covers it. Our characters obviously have sets of skills and abilities and come from cultures, but those aren't so relevant to the introduction of them, and they'll come up in play, I'm sure.
Yeah, we can talk about our cultures and how they influenced our characters as our characters start moving through the world, I think. Cool. So,
would you like me to step in?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure thing. With our character creation done and our quest filled out and our pillars chosen, the first step of beginning play is that we have to plan our initial adventure. In Time Passes, there's a process where everyone contributes to planning what the next adventure might be. The first step of that is that everyone writes down an objective that will weaken the grasp of the pillar that they're in charge of. Once all of us have an objective down, then the other players will write down one challenge each about what will make achieving that objective difficult. Then, once all all the other players have written down a challenge, the initial player whose pillar that we're working against and who wrote down the objective will write down one last challenge that will wrap the adventure up. Once we complete that, we've struck a blow against the pillar, which will add a tick on its destruction clock. And any challenges we overcame will add disruption ticks to their respective pillars, which will also weaken those, but on a much smaller scale. As an example, for my pillar of collaborators, I wrote the objective of rob the Pullerpede, carrying the pay and supplies for a garrison militia. I'm imagining this as the militia of non-imperial soldiers, just townsfolk in a town who have volunteered to enforce the rule of the empire upon their fellow townsfolk. And we'll be robbing their pay and supplies to make them really mad. So the other players will write down challenges about why accomplishing this will be difficult.
Okay.
I think maybe an obvious challenge is, like, this is going to be heavily guarded. You know, it's not the kind of thing that would just be left out in the open for anybody to waltz up and take.
Yeah, that would definitely work. Another thing is that the challenges don't have to be related directly to the pillar that the adventure is directly affecting. They can be related to any of the pillars. So if you wanted to include the nemesis or authority figures as sources for challenges, that can definitely happen.
Ooh, so what if the nemesis is one of the guards?
Yeah, absolutely. The challenge could be that the nemesis is guarding the train. Well, guarding the Pullerpede.
Maybe another, moving train is always a difficult target.
So the challenge should be related to a pillar. So if you can tie that into one of the pillars in a fashion, then that works.
Got it. I guess also I was gonna tie it to the collaborators somehow, but I don't know how I would do that. So that's fine.
Maybe in tying it to the authority figures, it's something like the bureaucrats are obfuscating.
Oh yeah, the bureaucratic obfuscation of the time scales or the
routes.
Schedule?
Yeah, the schedule, the route. Wow, that.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh.
Don't laugh at my misspelling.
You should know how to spell bureau after all the years you spent in the Taz fandom.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing at myself. I was like, wait a second. There we go. Bureaucratic. My God. Spelling is difficult today. Of both the schedule and route of the train.
Okay, and I will write the last challenge for this. While I figure that out, we can also figure out the objectives and challenges for the other two adventures. So if we were playing this at a table, each of us would have an index card where we would write our objective, our pillar and our objective at the top of the card, and then we would pass it to the player on our left who would then write the first challenge. And once everyone had finished that, we would pass the cards again to the left so that the next player would write the second challenge, and then they would get passed once last time back to the original player who wrote down the objective to fill in the last challenge. So all of the potential adventures would be filled out at the same time, and then we would get to pick which one we found most interesting.
Well, we're playing on a Google Doc, so we just have to sort of fill it in.
August, do you have an idea of what the source of the Nemesis's power is?
I've been thinking on that. Come back to me. Let's look at the authority figures first, because I'm trying to decide how much to lean into fantasy tropes. I'm trying to decide if it's like a MacGuffin that,
The orb.
yeah, a MacGuffin that provides like superior durability, or nigh invincibility on the field of battle, like a enchanted armor or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, let's go with, some fancy enchanted armor, something with a really striking silhouette, so that way it's like once you see this shadow on the battlefield, you're doomed.
Dark knight armor a la Final Fantasy kind of deal.
Yeah.
For putting in the third one, do I have to tie it back to authority figures as well? For the third challenge to a pillar.
No, it does not have to be the same pillar as the objective. It could be any pillar.
Got it. I wasn't sure if it was like different for the last one.
Admittedly, I had to check that in the rules myself.
Cool, so I'm asking good questions.
August, do you have a name for the nemesis? Their order or whatever?
I think it should definitely be something that doesn't sound overtly evil, because they're supposed to be an inspiring force for the loyalists to the Empire. So maybe something Bright Sun. God, what's a good, inspiring, heroic name? Maybe like a play on Odysseus, so Odyssean Bright Sun.
And that's the name of the order?
That's the name of the singular nemesis.
Oh, there's only the one. It's not an order of soldiers?
I think it's fun if it's a singular individual.
Okay.
It's just one guy.
Yeah. No, I like your spelling better. Stop.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a good challenge.
Yeah, we're really cooking up some good adventures here. All three of them I'm excited about.
Last challenge for Nemesis.
Would you like a suggestion?
Absolutely.
What about something about related to the difficulties necessary, the difficulties involved in acquiring the necessary tools and supplies to destroy the armor?
Yeah, I like that. So phrasing that as something like sourcing tools and supplies is made difficult by those in power.
Yeah.
And that'll tie back to the authority figures. So let's just go through our objectives on the pillars and list out the challenges. And then we can talk about which adventure we'd like to tackle.
Yeah, sounds good. Should I start?
Yes, please.
So, the objective that I came up with was rob the Pullerpede carrying the pay and supplies for a garrison militia. And the challenges for that we came up with together are: this Pullerpede is guarded by the nemesis, Odyssean Bright Sun. There is bureaucratic obfuscation of both the schedule and route of the train. And the last one is, it's a lot of money and supplies, and people are going to notice them getting moved.
Hell yeah. For my pillar, I used one of the suggested objectives, which is destroy the source of the nemesis's power. And the nemesis has enchanted armor that provides nigh invisibility and a striking silhouette to invoke fear on the battlefield. The challenges that we've laid out are the magic that was used to make the armor has been intentionally lost. We need a sample of the finished armor taken from Odyssean Bright Sun's suit, and sourcing tools and supplies is made difficult by those in power.
And I have the authority figures. I also took a objective from the example objectives, which is incontrovertibly reveal the sheriff's corruption to the public. And the challenges are the sheriff's deputies are loyal to them, the courts protect the corrupted officials, and the people may not wish to believe how deep the corruption goes.
Okay, so now we have to discuss which of these adventures we find most interesting.
I'm not gonna lie. Train heist, train heist, train
Train
heist.
heist. Train heist is also where I was going. I love a good train heist.
Yeah, I'm interested in it as a possibility since that was the objective I came up with. So I am good to do the train heist.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So with our adventure decided upon, now is the moment for us to prepare for it. So we have a phase here where we get to gather information. Each hero can make a single fortune roll to learn something about the objective, the challenges, and any obstacles ahead. The player asks a question about the adventure and describes how their hero is trying to find an answer. If the question is connected to one of the pillars, the player in charge of it should determine if the information is widely known or if it's hard to learn. If it's the former, you can just tell the inquirer what they want to know and describe how they learn it. If it's the latter, the hero rolls an appropriate combination of attribute and skills. So what do we want to know about the objective, the challenges, or anything else about this train heist? I think I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is Odyssean Brightsun, of all people, guarding the pay and supplies for a garrison militia?
I like that question.
That is a good question.
Now, the harder part is, how the hell does Crickrock try and figure this out? She is not exactly... Well, I mean, she has investigate. Oh, actually, I had a thought while we were setting up the adventures. Was that in the history, or in the cultures for both Precious and Bostelin, you share that you're both from Artera Township. Is that the town where the garrison militia is?
Ooh.
That's a good idea.
That would certainly save us from having to name a new place. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I know you said you've got investigate. I think maybe one of the ways you could investigate is you've probably still got connections at the Polarpede Railroad Company.
So, if I did, I would probably have taken the contact skill.
Oh.
But that is one of the skill sets that is totally empty for Crickrock.
Rip.
Yeah, she does not know people. She has two friends, and their names are Bostelin and Precious.
Helpful. It's okay.
I do have an idea though, which is I think she basically cases the garrison's barracks. And so I'm going to roll perception awareness for that. And for my attributes, I am going to choose resolve because it's a lot of patience casing a joint. So with my resolve of 20 plus 15 from having the general perception skill, and then plus another 15 for having 1 point in the specialist skill of awareness, that gives me a total target number of 50 on a D100 roll. If I roll equal to or under my attribute, resolve of 20, then I will get a partial success where I succeed but I suffer a consequence. And if I roll above that, but below the target number, so between 21 and 50, then I get a full success with no consequences. But before I roll, we have to determine what my position is by looking at what advantages I have. So the possible advantages are respite, which means that the hero can take as long as they need to overcome the obstacle and can make any number of attempts without fear of repercussions. Assistance, the hero is being assisted by another hero, an NPC, or a group of NPCs as appropriate to the task. Gear, the hero has at least one piece of equipment that is designed to make accomplishing their task easier. Specialist skill, the hero uses a specialist skill that is relevant to their potential success. Or remembering, the hero remembers a lesson of a fellow hero and uses a trick to succeed. However, we won't be able to take advantage of that because you can only remember fallen heroes. And as this is the very start of our campaign, none of our heroes have fallen yet, so we can't remember them. So, what gear do I have that might help? Unfortunately, I don't think I have anything that helps with casing a joint, because the gear that Crickrock has is a powerful bow, a familiar blade, a fine new firearm, worn armor, and a practical shield, which she gets from her martial culture. And then she has a smith's kit, a mechanist's kit, a chemist's kit, heavy gloves and apron, and a fine new firearm, which she gets from her crafter's culture. Because I have a new firearm in both cultures, it means that it becomes a fine item instead of a normal one.
Neat.
I could use one of my 2 free gear slots to declare an item, but I don't think I want to waste one of those on the preparation phase where something bad won't happen, because we're doing a fortune roll, so I can't actually suffer consequences, which I forgot earlier, so this isn't as important to go over right now.
I mean, I could make an argument for worn armor helping you out, because that'll help you blend in with the militia. But I don't know if that's covered, or is that covered by blend in stealth, which you do not have any.
Yeah, I think that would be more if I was, like, walking amongst them. This, I imagine, is she's, like, in alleyways and on rooftops watching the garrison through the rain, right?
Okay.
That kind of thing. So yeah, I think actually probably shouldn't go over position and advantages right now because this is supposed to be a fortune roll, so there's no consequences.
Okay.
The difference is the degree of information that I get from the roll.
Got it.
Okay, so I'll make my roll now. Oof, I rolled a 74. So that means that I only get weak information. So on a failure, the hero gains limited information about the question. What they need to know is rare, they didn't know the best place to look, or something interrupted their search. So, my question was, why is Odyssean Brightson of all people guarding the pay and supplies for a garrison militia? That seems a bit below his pay grade. And so I'm only going to get very limited information. August, since you're in charge of our nemesis, what is it that I learn?
I'm trying to think of what might be limited. Maybe there's something more to this payload than meets the eye, but you don't have any visibility on what that might be. Does that seem appropriately limited?
It does. I think it should be slightly more specific, only in that it could be like something else is also being transported on the train.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I think Precious, because our questions should be related to the challenges, correct?
They can also be related to the objective, or they can be more general questions that are related to the adventure as a whole. Like, there's nothing in the challenges about, like, if there's, soldiers on the train, but you could ask a question about how many soldiers are guarding the supplies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my question is going to be, what does, other than Odyssean, who's bad enough, what other security measures are in place?
Okay.
And I think I'm going to use blend for this under my stealth skills. I have 2 ticks in that skill, so I'm pretty decent at it. Plus I've got the general mastery of the stealth subset. So that puts that modifier at 45, and I think I'm going to use my fellowship attribute because I'm trying to smooth talk my way into finding out this information.
Nice.
Which is a 35 because Precious is a smooth talker. So that brings the total up to 80.
Pretty good.
So we'll see how this goes because sometimes Precious puts his foot in his mouth. I rolled a 2.
So that's an attribute success, so the hero gains standard information about the question. They learn what most academics would know about the subject, facts that may be slightly out of date, or rumors with some weight to them. So this isn't connected to a specific pillar, so any of us can provide some ideas about what the answer to the question may be.
And the question was, what
other security measures are in place?
Okay.
This is, I guess, a little bit of a freebie, but obviously the route and schedule for the Polarpede is being obfuscated.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I also find, like, an invoice for a mercenary troop, but the invoice is from several weeks ago, so I don't know. I don't have the up-to-date information on, like, how many mercs might be protecting this Polarpede. I just know that mercs are there.
That sounds good.
You might find also, like, an out-of-date schedule. So, like, the schedule's being obfuscated, so the schedule's probably not correct, but it is something? Question mark? Or is that...
I think that should probably be something more addressed when we get to the challenge about the schedule and route being obfuscated.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there was something like that stopping us from doing that.
Yeah, because we don't want to solve the challenges at this stage of the adventure.
Got it. Thank you.
We might get stuff that will help us for those challenges and could be represented by boons later on when we do rolls.
Okay.
But if the only thing we think is interesting or relevant without giving too much detail is that mercenaries are guarding the Polarpede, that can work as an answer.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Something that might help specify it a little bit more is maybe, and since you did see the invoice, you know which mercenary company is providing the security, so that could give us a bit of narrative flavor about who they are.
Ooh.
That's handy.
Like maybe they have a specialty of some kind?
That is really good. God, now I'm just thinking of, like, Fury Road and, like...
the War Boys cars accompanying the big rig?
Yes.
The war rig?
Yes.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say, what if they're a cannelry mercenary company? Cannelry being the canine equivalent of cavalry. Because in this setting, there's no riding horses, there are giant riding dogs.
I love that.
Hell yeah.
So, I guess the Polarpedes don't move terribly quickly, then.
It could be that this one's going slow, or it could be that the mercenaries are, like, riding hard. Who knows?
Yeah. We don't know that yet. I don't think.
No, I agree. Maybe if you'd gotten a full success and gotten great information, we could know what the deal was.
Yeah.
I think it is my turn to ask a question, and I do not even know what to ask. Maybe...
I mean, we can look at your skills and use that to help determine...
My skills are... The skills that I would... I guess asking around in the community would probably give me a good boost.
Yeah.
contact skill, what do I ask? Like, who are the members of the militia that are being supplied by this? I guess, does that make sense?
That could be interesting because if we know exactly who the militia is, we could potentially leverage that later.
Okay.
Yeah, and depending upon how well you roll, maybe we find the weak links in them, or...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's 45 just using contacts community. I also have intimidation as a skill, so I could, like, threaten somebody into giving me that info.
I guess there's the question, what's the flavor of how you get this information, right? Are you talking to people you know in the community? Or are you finding someone and threatening to do something very bad to them to get it?
Yeah. I think I'll go with finding people in the community that I know and trust.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And so what attribute are you going to use with it?
Alongside the contact skill, I mean...
I think fellowship makes the most sense because
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, because you're not trying to be aggro about it and you are talking to people.
Yeah, so that's 20 plus 45, which is 65. All right. And 2-roll D100. 32.
Okay. So that is above your attribute, but below the target number, so you get great information.
Woohoo.
A skill success. The hero gains great information about the question. Specialists on the subject share what they know. They find the exact book in the archives they need, or they access up-to-date military intelligence.
Nice. So I have a good sense of who is a member of this militia.
I think you also get a good idea of, like, some of the big personalities in the militia, and, like, who you might be able to manipulate or bully, who to avoid.
Nice. I did it.
Okay, so, with the gather information phase done before we start our adventure, now we can get into it.
To be continued.